Hi, this is Spencer Colgan from Spencer Colgan as Wallpaper. Wallpaper removal. Most of you shriek at the thought of removing your wallpaper because many of you who love wallpaper are old enough to remember your aunt or your grandmother who had that wallpaper on her walls for 30 years and it came down with the walls. It's not the truth anymore that wallpaper removal has to be such a pain. Today, there's so much education on YouTube and at the paint stores that even if you don't know what you're doing, the paint store is going to tell you, put this on the wall before you hang the wallpaper. Sometimes that's not the case, especially in commercial establishments. And it's not due to ignorance, but it's actually due to negligence. A lot of contractors will say, just skip it, just get it up. I've seen it myself. Now, how do you remove wallpaper? This paper outside has to be perforated. And it's already perforated in the seams. Every seam is a perforation in the shell of the wallpaper that you're looking to remove. You want to use all of the natural perforations in the wallpaper, starting at the edges, the bottom, the sides, and the top, to soak them down to penetrate the shell of the wallpaper where the backing meets. And so in each of our seams, we can saturate it with water, so much so that we can get our fingernails under it and then start pulling it off. Once we do that, we'll know what we're up against. The last thing you want to do is, the first thing is to use a metal device, a metal tool, a scraper, or a screwdriver to start lifting it off, because that's when you start damaging your walls unnecessarily. It might be necessary, but that's not going to be our first step. So let me show you what we've done so far. Let me get my water bottle, just wait 1 second. Where's our plastic device? Outside, let me get it. So if you look at the floor, you'll see a brand new plastic tarp. We have a carpet under here that the customer is looking to preserve. So we're going to do our best to keep it from even getting wet. Although a little water is going to be impossible to keep it off of the rug. Now, before we went on video, I took my water bottle. You'll take two so that you can kill two birds with one stone. And you just want to saturate the shell of the wall covering at the seams and at the edges. Then I took a blade, and all I did now is I put my fingers under the knife and I'm just scoring the top part with a dull blade. This is a dull blade. I made sure it was dull before I did it. If you don't have a dull blade, go scratch it against the street and then come back in and do it. All you're looking to do is just perforate the paper. This is nowhere near even going to the backing. You can barely see scratches on this. But what it does is, it opens up the fibers of the wallpaper, letting the water get underneath the shell. And so we've done this for about 15 minutes. Let's see how we do. We go in phases, and we don't go to the next step until the first step failed, because the last thing you want to do is cause unnecessary labor in fixing the walls underneath. Okay, so if you take a look over here, you'll see we have a very thin wallpaper. Okay, now this is not going to be hard to get off. It's going to be tedious in that we're going to have to saturate and keep scratching until this stuff is sufficiently wet in order to get large pieces like you just saw, but larger, of course, off of the wall. So it would be easier if the paper were thicker, or if it were vinyl. Then it would come right off. But I already know what we're up against, since it's a thin paper. If you learn anything by this video, let it be this: patience is key. If you start scratching your walls with a device, you're going to have a lot more, you're going to spend a lot more money in fixing the walls. Other than if you had just had the patience to just keep wetting it and using something like this. This is a plastic spatula that costs $2 at Harbor Freight. When I get a good piece off, I'm going to be able to just put this under it. It's plastic, it's not going to be scratching into my walls. And I'm going to be able to get it off evenly using this plastic device so that I don't damage anything. And the plastic acts like a large, what your fingernail does, but only 9-10 inches long. It gets under the paper and starts pulling it off for you. I'll show you the phase 2 of this series of wallpaper removal on the next one. So we wet down the walls with simple water after scratching the top layer of the wallpaper. And this is what I do. I'm rubbing the water in to the fiber to get the wallpaper to soften. If that fails, wet it again. If that fails, wet it again. I suggest that you wet your wallpaper 4 times before you go to the next phase, which is using a more aggressive method, scraping the walls with a metal device. Let's see on the next video how we do. Thanks for watching. Please click on like and subscribe to my channel.